Please welcome Alan Lepofsky, Vice President and Principal Analyst, Constellation Research.
So before I start, everybody's been taking photos of the speakers. I'm going to do the opposite. Let's get everybody to wave. Let's get a good wave from the audience. Let's upload this thing to the app. I will say OK. I guess the social guy that's going to talk has to start off with posting a check-in. So there you go. So that's my check-in from here. So as Ray mentioned, what I want to do is talk to you guys about, I think it's checking in. There we go. So I'm trying to work my way up that leaderboard there. So what I want to do is talk about this concept of social, the big buzzword that everybody's talking about these days. And a lot of you have come up to me in the halls and say, you know, our company's looking at doing these social technologies. What are the challenges we're going to have? What things should we do? So my concept around this is what I call from simply sharing, sort of the training wheels getting started, to this world of what I call purposeful collaboration, or collaborating with a purpose. So let's see if I can make these go. There we go. So when people come to me in companies like yours, when we do advisory work, the first thing that happens is people say, our organization needs to become more social. This is like the hot topic, whether it's email or tweets or these things, or customer engagement or focus on the employees. They say, I want to become more social. And my first question to them is always very simple. I say, why? I don't get into anything. I don't start talking about which company they want to use or things. I say, why do you want to do it? And it's incredibly depressing to me, the responses that I usually get. They range from, well, I've been told at a CIO golf event that we have to be doing this. You know, we just know this is the next big thing. Or, well, my competitors are doing it, so I know I need to be doing it in order to keep up. Or the absolute worst answer you could ever give me in the world is because we want to reduce our use of email. You know, I get this all the time. People say we want to shift to these social technologies so that we can do this. This is not the reason you want to be doing social technologies. This is a wonderful byproduct of the benefits of moving to open and transparent ways of working with blogs and wikis and things. But this is not the reason for you to be changing or transforming your organization into a new way. The goal is not to reduce email, especially if you think the reason you want to reduce email is information overload. You know, you're going to have far more information overload in social networks if you're not careful than you're ever had in email. Email is your inbox. Social is essentially everybody in your company's inbox. Do you think managing all of that information is going to be a lot easier than managing just your own? No, that's not the reason you want to do it. So that idea is broken from the very start. But that sounds kind of weird. The analysts that cover social collaboration technology saying, well, this isn't the right thing to do. No, not at all. It's absolutely the right thing to do and where I want all of you going, but we're going to talk about the way you should do it. And that's by starting with a defined purpose for why you're actually looking at all these technologies. When you go shopping or when you're buying other things, there's usually a reason you're doing it. To implement collaboration tools inside your organization, you should have the same thing. You should define a purpose. So to get to that, let's look at the evolution of the various collaboration platforms that you can choose from and how they can help your organization and how you, more importantly, can implement them inside your organization. So usually this gets oohs and ahs. This is kind of a cute little slide. So there we go. They're not quite as good as what they're drawing over there, but it's a cute slide. So the first stage of all these collaboration tools is what I mentioned earlier. It's what I call simple sharing. So simple sharing is great. You start getting out of email and you move to this new, I hate to use the cliche terms, but I will, the Facebook or Twitter sort of world, but inside your organization. You get activity streams or enterprise social networks or communities. And this way where you can all of a sudden, instead of addressing things to people in email, you can openly discuss things. And this is where the openness and transparency and knowledge sharing and all those wonderful buzzwords come in. And essentially what these are good for is company-wide use cases. So it's things like posting status updates, what you're doing, where you are, which customer you're meeting with. Status updates isn't what you're having for lunch. It's, I'm on the West Coast, I'm visiting Acme Corp. Does anybody there know a contact that I can deal with? So they're business-related status updates. So there is huge value in these. I'm not making fun of them, but they're just company-wide use cases that are sort of generic. Sharing links to information, what your competitors are doing, what you're doing, what the new marketing material is, launch events, videos about things, all of those great things that you do in your personal life with your friends and family. Imagine the power of sharing all that information at work. And then finally, the last one, perhaps the most important, is asking questions. When you don't know where to go to in email, God forbid you email the entire company asking a question, so you don't do that. Instead, you come into your social networks and you say, does anybody know where I can translate this document into French? Or does anybody know a connection with a company that can, animated take notes during a conference or thing? So all of a sudden, this is where you start to have the power of the knowledge inside everyone in your company. But there's something significant missing in all of this. It's a great way to start. But what's missing is the concept of these things helping you actually get your job done. These are all generic, useful things that build up to the things you're working on, but these are not job-related specific activities. So that gets us to what I call stage 2, and this is where we refer to as getting work done. So how you enhance stage 1 to stage 2 is all of a sudden you start to have integration with your business tools. So all of a sudden the acronym soup of all of the tools you use at work start to become part of your enterprise social, as well as all of that existing huge amounts of corporate data that you have. This stuff is extremely valuable inside your organization. So no longer are we just talking about having a stream where you can ask questions or share news, but we're talking about a stream where all of a sudden your company's work can actually start to happen. ERP records can be pumped into the stream to warn people about inventory control. CRM records can be pumped into the stream automatically without humans having to do it to talk about closing big customer deals. All of a sudden, that generic sort of stream of information becomes a work activity stream, where people can actually do things that help get their job done. Sounds great. Sounds like nirvana, right? This is wonderful. Well, there's huge problems with this as well. With almost every organization we deal with, we hear that this takes off like crazy at the start, plateaus, and then sort of dies. And so we refer to this as adoption issues. Everybody wants to talk about the adoption problems. And there's two main reasons that we found that these things actually occur. The first of which is those enterprise social networks are a destination of their own, meaning in some way, shape, or form, I have to change the context of what I'm doing or working on to actually go over and actually deal with that CRM record or ERP record or status update or video or link or something. But I actually have to go to tool X, Y, or Z, some of which the vendors are here in the audience. So these are great tools for using, but there's sort of a problem with them that people don't want to switch over and use them. The second problem is they're very rarely focused on you. As an industry, we've done a really bad job over the last 5 years of trying to preach how wonderful social is. I was director of marketing at a social company, and I used to talk about, corporate knowledge and finding expertise and the skill and power of everybody. That doesn't relate to people. People are self-centered and want to care about themselves. So the problem with a lot of these tools is they're not focused on what I have to do. So if I go into an enterprise social network and I see all these communities and streams and things, it doesn't hit me in the face with how does this help me get my job done? So that takes us to stage 3. Stage 3 is where all these wonderful things shift from just basic sharing to getting your job done to what I call purposeful collaboration. And the way purposeful collaboration occurs is by integrating social into the business fabric of all the things that your company does to run your company today. I find it extremely offensive when my peers and other evangelists in the social industry tell all of you how much you have to dramatically change the way your company works. Guess what? Your company's doing a lot of things right and using a lot of the right tools, but some of them haven't been updated in the last 10 years, 5 years, whatever it happens to be, and need to be modernized to work the way people do things. Doesn't mean you have to go through a full transformation of the way you're doing things. What you're doing today may be right if you augment some of those processes with these social things. Imagine if this whole buzzword about social business actually went away and we just talked about business. And we got back to how does your company do sales and marketing and support and customer service and engineering and verticals for pharma and healthcare and finance and all of these things. That's what you guys care about. You don't care about the buzzword of the day. So the way I try to help people understand this is we play a little game. Some of you may have seen me do this before if I've spoken with you, but I'll just take a couple minutes and we'll go through these. Anybody remember Mad Libs? Have people used these things? Okay, so about half the room. For those that don't, a Mad Lib is very simple. I used to play them in games and car rides with my family to sort of pass the time. That shows it was sort of before the DVD in the back seat or the PlayStation in the back seat or something. We actually had to use pen and paper, so very, very different than it is today. I wonder if there must be an iPad app for Mad Libs. I haven't looked. But the way a Mad Lib works is you fill in the blanks. So the Mad Libs for social or for purposeful collaboration go like this. We need to improve business process X so that we can achieve desired business result Y. So let's look at what a couple of these are. We need to grow the sales pipeline so that we can close more sales deals. We need to reduce development times so that we can get products to market quicker. We need to provide better onboarding so that we can have a better connected workforce. Don't all of these things sound a lot better than we want to reduce our email? That's not what you want to be doing. That's not the way you want to focus your attention. So you want to go through use cases like this. We need to resolve issues faster so we have happier customers. And finally, we need to listen to our customers so that we can build what they need. This is what we do when we work with you on sort of workshops and processes for, okay, how do we transform our company? These are the first sets of questions you should be asking long before you sort of look at which vendor you're going to use or how much email we need to reduce, et cetera. Now, I don't have a lot of time. Normally, we'd go through what we can do in the question and answers. Maybe think about this for the next 2 minutes as I'm sort of finishing up my talk before the Q&A. Try to think of ones of your own. Normally, I would go through and say, raise your hand if you've got one of these that's appropriate to your company. So think about that for a second. So to recap this sort of section about what purposeful collaboration is, we work our way up the value chain from transparency and discovery and openness and sharing the wonderful, wonderful world, the training wheels of social business. That's what got us all started. We move up the value chain to really using the business tools that we have and having them integrated with your CRM data, your ERP data, your e-commerce data, your customer records, all of that great information. And then finally, we work it towards, these features, these functions, commenting, liking, sharing, openness, discovery, transparency, all become part of what our normal jobs are. So usually the first two questions that people ask me about these things are, the devil's in the details, these evil words like, what's my return on investment? And how do we measure these things? What are the KPIs? Now, the beauty, if you start thinking about social in terms of purposeful collaboration and instead of social business, is guess what? There are no KPIs specifically for social business. The KPIs you should be measuring are related to all those Mad Libs. So how much did you reduce your development time? How much did you improve your customer support? How much faster did X, Y, or Z? Do you close your sales deals quicker? These are the things you measure running your company. It's not relevant what percentage of your employees are reading your internal blogs or communities. That doesn't move your business forward. Spending time measuring things like adoption is not what is going to move your business forward. So with purposeful collaboration, the things you measure are the actual business impacts. If you're deploying an enterprise social network for a real valid reason inside your organization that's going to move your organization forward, guess what? You're going to have 100% adoption or something near it. I hate to say cliche terms like 100%. But if it's part of what I do to get my job done, if I'm a salesperson and this tool becomes part of my sales process, I'm going to use it. I'm not going to switch to something else, so you don't have to worry about it. So I have about 2 minutes left. Hopefully that sort of piece makes sense. So what I want to talk about, we wanted to make sure that when you get an analyst up here talking about social in front of you guys, I want to talk a little bit about what comes next. So I'm going to take a quick glance into the crystal ball for my last minute, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm talking about this evolution of social platforms. Well, where's the innovation in this space? What's really happening? We hear all these buzzwords like social and cloud and mobile, and they really have changed the way they work. Cloud has admin benefits, it has purchasing benefits, it reduces your infrastructure, it has green benefits we heard about earlier. Social gets rid of the openness or creates the openness and transparency, and mobile lets us have access at any time. But honestly, nothing's really improved that much in the last 20 years that I've been covering this space. Communities, blogs, forums, they've been around forever. The Well and AOL and all these other tools have been doing blogs and communities forever. So what's really different in these tools today versus the ones we used to have? And this brings us to the conversation of innovation versus improvement or enhancement. It's a huge topic that I normally do like a 90-minute talk alone on. So let me just sum it up in like 2 quick things. Innovation is when something brand new comes along and disrupts the way you were doing something in the past. So Ray is a big fan of using the analogy of moving from the cassette tape to the iPod. This was a huge innovation. This is not an innovation. This is constant improvement, and it's really, really good, but it's not innovation. Moving to Uber Cab, like we talked about in the last session, that is innovation. So where is the innovation in social business? Here are 4 areas that I want you to think about inside your organization. Mass personalization. It came up in a session a little bit earlier today. I call it the don't forget the me in social media. It's all about what I want, what I do, what I'm looking at. Big data is a huge topic. I don't care about big data. I care about small data. I care about the data that's relevant to the things that I'm doing. Take all of those numbers, crunch them down, and help me get my job done. The second one is what I call storyboarding, and this is a big area of my research right now. If you think about it, over the last 20 years, the tools we use to collaborate have not changed all that much. We essentially do things in documents, in spreadsheets, in word processing. They've moved to the cloud. They've become on our mobile devices. We can do it on our iPads. We can collaboratively co-edit at the same time. All sorts of really cool things, but we really haven't changed what we produce. Storyboarding is a new concept where you take all of the bits of information that you need for the things that you're doing and assemble them online into one single canvas. So let me give you an example of that. For me to come to this trip, it takes some emails for discussion. There's some tweets about this under CCE. There's my plane ticket. There's a calendar entry. There's a mobile app. If I could grab all of those elements and put them on one digital space where at once I can look at everything for CCE, that's really different than having an online folder shared in an online cloud service where I post a document, I post the JPEGs of this, I post the YouTube videos. We do a good job of assembling all the things into one discrete place, but there are very few tools now that let you see them at the same time and let them actually interact with each other. And this is going to be a big thing moving forward as users get used to doing things like Pinterest and Storify and all of these types of things. You're going to see a lot of this at work. Oh, go backwards here. Prioritization assistance. This is one that I can't wait for. Very few tools actually help me decide what I should be working on. If any of you watch science fiction movies or things like Iron Man, where Tony Stark wakes up and the first thing that happens is Jarvis tells him what to do for his day, I don't have tools that do that yet. I don't have a tool that actually tells me from the queue of all the reports that I want to write, which of them you're all wanting to buy and in which order. All that data exists out there today, but very few tools. They let us prioritize things manually. They let us do things based on revenue, but very few things actually help us figure out what we're going to work on. And then the last one for me to close up is verified expertise. We've been hearing about expertise location forever, and let me give you the 1-minute version of this. The first generation of expertise is I say what I know. I go to my profile, I add tags, I update what school I went to, I make up my professional certifications, I get hired as the CEO of Yahoo, I get discovered that I lied, all of a sudden I'm out. But in the first generation, I could say whatever I wanted. In the second generation, we use endorsements. How many people are annoyed with all the endorsements they keep getting on LinkedIn where people say, you're skilled at this? So other people get to say what you're really good at. It's a great evolution from what I say I do to what you say I do. But the next generation is going to be all about not what I say I do, not what you say I do, but what I actually do. What if the tools could actually data analyze the things that I'm working on, the questions that I answer, the projects that I write about, the customers that I meet with, and it actually could say, Alan is an expert in the following, as opposed to Alan believes he's a rocket scientist. So these are the things that I hope are going to make your collaboration life easier in the next few years. And that is, going the wrong way, and that is all for my talk. 15 minutes, done. Thank you.